It's highly competitive, and at times it feels like you need a university degree to complete and to write a successful grant application. It's something I know many of you involved in different volunteer organisations, clubs and charities experience. But are there some tricks of the trade that you need to know just to elevate your application? Here to step you through and supercharge your grant writing is Renée Madsen, who is presenting a special workshop in Townsville this week. Hello, Renée.
Hi, Jess.
Now, everyone must start somewhere when it comes to grant writing. Do you remember what it was like for you on your first try?
Yes, I do. I remember looking at all the paperwork going, oh my gosh, where do I start?
What are some of the common errors people tend to do when they are writing this application, or they tend to, think that it's all too hard basket?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things people really struggle with is understanding the grant guidelines. So that's actually a document that comes out with every single grant application form. There's usually two things, the form and the guidelines. And a lot of people look at the guidelines and go, oh my gosh, that's 10 pages. I really don't know whether I want to read all that. And then they just go straight to filling in the form. But the guidelines have some really, really valuable information in there that you really need to know when you write your application so it can stand out from the crowd and really address what the funding body is looking for. So it's really important that you read those grant guidelines. So that's one of the things we're going to cover in the workshop.
And I know from my own experience as well in the past, every grant, that you do apply for is different and might have different requirements. So that really reiterates that, you need to keep an eye out for those guidelines and to read through them and pick out a few of the things to include in your application.
Yeah, exactly right, Jess. That's right. So in the workshop, we're actually going to do a bit of an exercise where we go through and have a look at some sample guidelines and really have a go at pulling out the key information. And, the workshop is tailored to beginners and people who haven't written a grant before, or maybe have written one or two and want to improve. So, everyone's welcome to come along regardless of whether you've ever tried to apply for a grant or not. We'll be stepping everyone through it for every step of the way. So it should be really helpful.
And what else will you be covering as part of this workshop, Renée?
Yeah, we'll be covering where to find grants. So that's another thing that a lot of people struggle with is where do I find them? Where do I look for them? Sometimes I only find out about them, the day before they're due. How can I, get an early heads up? So we'll be covering that. We'll be going through those grant guidelines, and we'll also be looking at some examples of really good answers to application questions and how to write your application in a way that's really going to address what they're looking for.
Renée, that's something, a lot of people go, oh, no, I didn't even know that was possible. But are there things that you can sign up to that notify you that this grant is open and it might be relevant to, say, your club, organisation or charity? Is that something that exists?
Yes, it is, yes, and we'll provide some links for people in the workshop. So we'll actually give a handout for everyone to take away that has a whole list of links and a whole list of websites where you can actually go and sign up for those notifications for free. It won't cost you anything just to get notified. So, yes, we'll definitely be covering that.
And how many people are you expecting to come along to the workshop, which is on Wednesday this week?
It's on Wednesday, that's right. I know that as at the end of last week, we had about 25 registrations, and we're definitely expecting more just from previous experience. They tend to come in these last few days before the workshop, so I think we'll definitely have a good crowd. So I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone. Would love to see as many people there as possible.
And grants, obviously, for a different variety of reasons, are there to benefit clubs, charities, associations, but what would be your key message to people about why you should apply for these grants and how they can assist, especially in a time where volunteers are so few and far between at the moment?
Yes, that's such a great point, Jess. And I think when you're applying for a grant, it's really important to know what it is that you want to apply for. So, as you say, time is really thin on the ground. A lot of people don't have the time. There's not always a huge army of volunteers to do these things. So, your club really needs to have a think about what is it that we want to do with this grant, and then have some planning done, before you even apply for the grant. While you're waiting for that perfect grant to come up, really sit down and think in detail well. What is it that we want to do? How would we use this money? And, what change is this going to create for our club? What are the benefits that are going to come out of it? And if you've done that pre-planning and that pre-thinking, it's really going to help you when that perfect grant opportunity comes along and save you some time.
Renée, you're somewhat of an expert in this space. How did you come to be part of it and now, offloading some of your knowledge to everyone, not only in Townsville, but you do this work across Queensland, I believe, across the country as well?
Yes, I've done some fantastic workshops. I went out west, sort of along the Overlanders Way, out towards Mount Isa, stopping in every town along the way. So I've done that. Been up north, been down south. So yes, I just really love sharing the knowledge, Jess. It's just something that people struggle with. As we were saying earlier, it can be a bit daunting when you look at it, but it's really just like anything in life. I think you've just got to know where to start and how to go about it. And I was in the shoes of everyone that's had to start writing a grant. I used to work for a not-for-profit, and we had to write a lot of funding applications, and I just sort of learnt by doing. And I think that's just the easiest way to learn is really just hands-on. Just give it a go and do your best, and we'll certainly be there at this workshop to help everyone learn where to start and how to go about it.
It is a minefield at times, but Renée, if you had one hot tip, because we can't give it all away because everyone needs to go to the workshop on Wednesday. So
right.
If you had one hot tip to leave people with when it comes to grant writing and grant applications, what would you suggest?
I would suggest read those guidelines, folks. I know they look boring and they're like a big wad of a document, and you think, do I really have to read this? Absolutely, folks. If you want your application to stand out from the crowd, read those guidelines. You'll be way ahead of the pack.
Now, we have said it's Wednesday, but what are the details, Renée? Just leave us with those on a final note.
Sure. So it's Wednesday, the 21st of February. So this Wednesday, it's starting at 9 a.m. and finishing at 10:30, and it's going to be at the Volunteering North Queensland Training Room, which is 38 Canterbury Road in Curwen.
Renée Madsen from Create and Evaluate, the presenter of a special grant writing workshop in Townsville on Wednesday this week. Thank you so much for your time this morning and unpacking some of your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Jess.